Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, a man has died after venturing out into rough waters in an inflatable dinghy to retrieve a yacht. Wild winds and wet weather lashing the state, and with it expected to continue, police are pleading for us all to be cautious on the roads and water.
Police were called to Deviate with 2 people in trouble on the water.
About 2:40 yesterday afternoon, the couple became aware or observed that their yacht was possibly adrift, or it was certainly dragging its mooring.
Police say that a couple, both experienced sailors, attempted to retrieve the yacht by heading out in an inflatable dinghy. The woman was able to reach the yacht, however the dinghy flipped, throwing the man into the water. Authorities were unable to revive the 66-year-old.
Regardless of your experience, your knowledge, perhaps your capability and capacity in operating boats and other watercraft, that you do need to be mindful and take heed of weather warnings.
Rough waters also affected Spirit of Tasmania travellers. While one boat departed Devonport overnight, the other never left the Melbourne dock. Passengers left wondering when they'd be able to disembark.
We can't dock until obviously they can get the existing Spirit of Tasmania out of the dock where it is at the moment. So we're just waiting for that to occur.
Waters deemed too dangerous for tugboats to pull it out.
About 6 hours, we've been sort of just cruising around, a bit of a sightseeing tour of Port Phillip Bay.
The vessel was finally able to dock around 2:30 this afternoon, with its Tasmania-bound sister on its way. Winds of up to 109 kilometres an hour were recorded across the state. They wreaked havoc on power supply too.
These weather systems have been quite disruptive. We've had probably over 10 to 15,000 customers affected at some stage or another. We tend to restore an outage and then 2 more pop up.
And that's due to basically the ground being so wet, trees basically starting to fall over, combined with damaging winds anyway, causing branches to fall onto roads and so on.
Thankfully, winds are due to ease this evening, but the rain is expected to stick around.
We have a flood watch current for the eastern catchments in Tasmania, and at the moment we've got a moderate flood warning current for the South Esk River.
Be mindful of the weather conditions and road conditions, to drive to the conditions, be patient on our roads as well.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Former Liberal Braddon candidate Adam Brooks has been charged with 6 new offences. The 45-year-old faced court in Brisbane this morning for a second time. The new charges include possessing tainted property and unlawful possession of articles resembling a licence. Police raided a home in Queensland last month where they allegedly seized a handgun and false driver's licences belonging to Mr Brooks. No plea was entered and the matter will return to court later this month. Tasmania's border will reopen to regional Victoria in just a matter of hours, prompting a plea for travellers to be honest about their movements. Another COVID vaccination clinic opened in Hobart today, and authorities are urging those who get the jab to spread the word.
Moona's Pfizer clinic only opened its doors today. It's already booked out for the next 2 weeks, but the vaccine fight is far from won.
We face a public health challenge to overcome vaccine hesitance and complacency in pockets of our community.
25,000 Tasmanians are fully vaccinated. Around 30% of the state has had the first jab. Health authorities want them to spread the message.
You are Tasmania's vaccination ambassadors, and we need you to help bring the rest of Tasmania over the line.
As Victoria gains ground on its latest outbreak, Tasmania has relaxed some border measures.
Based on the current situation in Victoria, regional Victoria will be downgraded to low risk from midnight tonight.
There have been no cases of COVID in regional Victoria. There are currently no exposure sites in regional Victoria.
The changes mean more than 1,000 people will soon be able to leave quarantine in Tasmania. Meanwhile, Melbourne and its 31 council areas will stay high risk.
And will continue to be monitored daily. However, at this stage, it's unlikely that it will be downgraded to low risk until after the long weekend.
But the outbreak could mean we see a different set of visitors. Talks are underway to shift 2 AFL games here at the end of the month.
The games, if they were to be transferred, would be North Melbourne versus Brisbane on Saturday the 19th at Blunston Arena, and Hawthorn versus Essendon on Sunday the 20th at UTAS Stadium.
An answer is expected early next week. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's Treasury has projected more state government debt over the next 15 years. The Fiscal Sustainability Report found debt and deficits will grow under 4 different scenarios. Health would also continue to soak up government spending and remains the most significant factor in the years to come. The Premier insists the state's finances are in a strong position. The state government has announced an independent review into Tasmania's public trustee. Attorney-General Elise Archer says operations and practices will be examined following concerns over client cases.
They act independently of government, but it's also important that we ensure any concerns are looked into to ensure the highest level of confidence in this very important function that they carry out.
Treasury has been urgently tasked with drawing up plans for the review, with more detail expected in the coming weeks. Internet connection at the Tarhoon Airwalk and defence infrastructure in Glenorchy. These are some of the areas benefiting from a spending spree in Tasmania by the Commonwealth Government. But despite a federal election on the horizon, one minister says it is not a sign the Liberals are going into campaign mode.
A new fleet of vehicles starting to roll in, with $16 million pledged to support defence.
With a purpose-built service centre for the Army's new vehicles.
Set to be built at the Derwent Barracks within the next 18 months. Just down the road in Dowsing Point, the Regional Communications Minister announcing an internet boost for the Tarhoon Airwalk.
There's Tarhoon and there's an adjoining, I think, a research facility up there where there's people are based there all the time, as well as the staff at Tarhoon.
Our visitors from interstate who want to post their TikTok video or the Instagram post while they're there, enjoying the experience that they do.
It's part of the latest tranche of funding for the Regional Connectivity Program. The Minister making the trip to Tassie for the Regional Ministers meeting in National Cabinet tomorrow, but avoiding speculation on a date for the upcoming federal election.
There's only one person that has the answer to that, that's the Prime Minister, but no, certainly not in campaign mode.
Well, we're always in campaign mode.
Senator Abetz will be gearing up for battle, working to be re-elected despite being last on the Liberal Senate ticket.
What people do at the next election is up to them. Do I wish to be re-elected? Of course I do.
What we'd like to see from the Liberal Party is campaigning on Medicare. Medicare is the big story. Medicare is a big part of people's lives.
Labor's Brian Mitchell concerned about the impact of the Commonwealth's Medicare shake-up.
I've got GP clinics in my electorate that are no longer offering bulk billing to healthcare card holders between 16 and 65.
With the Liberals already eyeing off his seat.
To retake the seat of Lions.
If they want to come after me, bring it on.
Next Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
RSL Tasmania State President Robert Dick has stood down. At a board meeting yesterday, Mr Dick announced his resignation, citing personal reasons. He served in the Royal Australian Air Force for 21 years. Mr Dick held the state RSL position for 7 years and was also the national president in 2017 and 2018. Vice President Barry Quinn will act in the role while the board decides its long-term plan. Federal Women's Safety Minister Anne Ruston has helped launch a new podcast tackling the issue of family violence. The Rule of Thumb podcast details the experiences of women who have been through family violence and made use of the legal system, hoping to help others do so in the future.
The people who are navigating it are often at their most vulnerable, they're under the highest level of stress, because leaving a violent relationship must be an extraordinarily difficult and stressful thing to do.
I think the feedback that we're getting from people who listen to this podcast is they start considering, one, their own situation, but the conversations that they've had with families, friends, workplaces, with colleagues in their workplaces, and what they might be able to do differently to support them.
The podcast, created by the Women's Legal Service and Healthy Tasmania, has been funded through state and federal government grants. Some of us would struggle to drive 250 miles in one go, so how about running it? One Tasmanian has shrugged off snow, sleet and shivering cold to complete the epic journey, even with an injury.
John Kennell could be Tassie's answer to Cliff Young. By the time he'd reached the overland track, he'd already covered hours upon hours on foot. And there were plenty more to go in his 250-mile slog.
All up, from Monday to Friday, just had under 9 hours sleep.
And surely being rugged up on the couch would be better than this. Not so fast, says the ultra-marathon man.
Winter weather in Tasmania.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. It was lovely to be outdoors.
For John, this was a battle of mind over body to run as far south as Derwent Bridge and back to the northwest. He even pushed through an Achilles injury. His reason was simply to see if he could.
It's fortunate sometimes when we have the physical capability to have a crack at things, so we just need to, for us, it seems quite out there, but it's just something, if we put all the safety elements and the support elements around it, it's quite achievable.
But it takes something special to still be smiling at the end. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
Its water was once unsafe to drink, but now a Tasmanian town has the best quality tap water on the planet. Rossarden Supply is the nation's first to achieve the title of World's Best, following desperately needed upgrades to local infrastructure.
The crystal clear water running from Rossarden's mountains seemed like a tap taster's dream, but contamination from the old tin mining days means looks were deceiving.
It didn't taste good, it didn't look good.
Now Rossarden's water is truly worth bottling. A major upgrade to infrastructure means Taswater could finally rip off the do not drink warning slapped over the town's supply. And after testing the waters from 5 continents, judges in America licked their lips at what Rossarden had become, naming its supply the best in the world.
It's not a hard water source, it's just very good to the palate.
It's the first time water from anywhere in Australia has won the prize. You could say a watershed moment, vindicating the flush $200 million capital works. If you want to taste it yourself, you'll need to visit the Northern Midlands town, population 42.
The town consumes around 8,000, 10,000 litres a day. It's a very small community.
And it's not just the taste receiving rave reviews.
And as for being soft, it's the best water to wash your clothes in.
Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
A new exhibition exploring the life of one of Australia's most intriguing colonial artists is set to open at the Tasmanian Museum and Art Gallery. Paradise Lost brings together 44 artworks by Thomas Griffiths Wainwright, providing glimpses into the mind of the notorious painter and convict.
The works are really beautiful. You can see he's a deeply talented artist. The biographical information that goes with it is also just as fascinating.
He fell into a great deal of debt, he forged cheques, and he probably poisoned a family member or two before being transported to Tasmania in 1837.
The exhibition has been commissioned as part of Dark Mofo, with the museum opening late during the festival. A desperate call has gone out for people to take on a cat or kitten. 10 Lives Cat Centre is facing one of its busiest months in the past decade. The shelter has more than 200 cats needing a home, and staff say they're exhausted.
We're calling on the community to come and support us because we're finding it really stressful and we're not being able to cope with the sheer numbers that we're receiving.
To ease the pressure, the centre is calling for 50 families to sign up this week to be short-term foster carers.
Friday night footy returns to the TSL tomorrow night when Kingborough takes on Glenorchy. Pressure acts are still the focus for the Pies after downing Lauderdale, while the Tigers have the blood running after nearly toppling Launceston, and they'll need it too for the chilly conditions at KG5.
Let's be honest, we're going to be playing in Antarctica tomorrow night, so we've had a little bit of training in playing in those conditions and simplifying what the game potentially looks like.
Any team that's not applying pressure isn't winning, because that's what's going to generate your scores. All teams are good at setting up behind the ball when they get time to do so. It's about forcing those turnovers so you can put them under the pump.
Meanwhile, Launceston veteran Jay Blackberry is set to equal Jay Bowden's TSL games record when he runs out for game 212 against North Hobart.
I looked at the attendance from the start of pre-season till now, and he has not missed a session, and that just typifies the bloke that he is.
The Blues have 5 changes for Saturday's game. AFLW talent will give the North West Football League's women's side an extra gear when they take on the rest of the state. Former North Melbourne players Libby Haynes of Wynyard and Emma Humphreys of Ulverston form part of the NWFL's representative squad. Coach Richard Douglas played for Wynyard in the 90s and knows just how much representative matches mean to the region.
Their dads and their grandfathers are telling them all about the greats that played up here in the Northwest and the pride of wearing the Northwest jumper. I mean, once you put on the representative jumper, you grow. You become a better footballer straight up just for wearing it.
The Northwest has the shortest break between games. They're up against the NTFAW at Penguin on Saturday before backing up against the SFLW at East Devonport on Monday. Tasmania's sole A-League player returns to the pitch tonight when Melbourne City faces Newcastle. Nathaniel Atkinson has spent the past 2 months on the sidelines after copping a hamstring injury. The 21-year-old, who was nominated for the league's Young Player of the Year in March, has been pivotal in setting up scoring opportunities. City will play in the semi-finals on Friday week. And James Faulkner has claimed 3 wickets for 32 runs in his first outing with Lahore in the Pakistani Super League. The Tasmanian was also handy in the field, taking the catch which dismissed Usman Khawaja. Faulkner's side won the game against Islamabad in a final ball thriller.
Good evening. 11 the top in Hobart today, Launceston and Devonport 15. Burnie with the state's top of 17 degrees, Shed with Wynyard. Elsewhere, Scottsdale 16. King and Flinders Island, Smithton and Strawn all 15. St Helens and Lowhead reached 14. The Friendly Beaches and Bushy Park 13 degrees. A cloud band over the majority of Tasmania today. Further out, an extensive cloud band over northern Victoria and southern New South Wales. Another front over southwestern WA. Tomorrow's chart, and a low to the north will move off the New South Wales coast. A ridge of high pressure will weaken to the west of Tasmania and a high remains over Central Australia. Coastal waters and east to southeasterly winds at 10 to 20 knots with swells to 2 metres. Warnings and a strong wind warning is current from St Helens Point to Tasman Island. A warning to sheep graziers in the east. A road weather alert for reduced visibility in heavy rain current for the northeast and east coast. A moderate flood warning for the South Esk River. A minor flood warning for the Macquarie River and the North Esk. And finally a flood watch for river basins in the eastern half of Tasmania. The forecast now, rain forecast for Hobart, Huonville and Campania, all 14. In the north, showers for Launceston 16, Devonport 17, showers for Georgetown 15 degrees. Burnie and Wynyard a shower and 17, a partly cloudy day on the way for Strawn. St Helens and Swansea rain and 15, showers increasing for Port Arthur 14. Looking ahead to Saturday now and rain about the east and southeast, showers for the north and central parts, a fine day for the north on Sunday, showers elsewhere, and Monday, the public holiday, cloudy day with possible showers. A sunny day for Darwin tomorrow, 31, Brisbane a top of 20 degrees, Sydney 16, 13 for Canberra, Adelaide 17, Perth expecting 20 degrees. And currently it's 12 in Hobart with rain, showers in Launceston at 13, in Devonport showers also and 15. Kim, that's the weather.
Thanks very much, Laura. And that is your news for now. Good night.